Welcome to Ravens Across the Pond, your place for everything Baltimore Ravens. From a fresh, European perspective. Plenty of laughs, plenty of piss-taking, and of course, questionable insights. Sit back, relax, grab a beer, and enjoy the show.
We're back. Happy New Year, all.
Happy New Year.
Had a bit of a break. We haven't been on for about just over a week. A little bit to talk about. How was the Christmas holiday period, gents?
God, it flies through, doesn't it? All of a sudden, it was Christmas Eve, and then a drunken, boozy haze later. We're in 2026.
I'm still in new baby mode. You can probably hear him screaming in the background somewhere in the house being changed, and it's just that in itself just blends every day into one, let alone the Christmas blend. So, yeah, it's always fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice and relaxing. New Year's was the biggie. Had some friends around.
I know a new year, Richard. No new haircut for the new year for the pod. No, it's not. That isn't Duke Nukem. That is our very own Dickie.
The barber was questionable with some kind of Christmas hangover. So yeah, waiting for the new. Well, yeah, waiting to get that one done.
Fair enough. Yeah, look, before we crack on, we're live on YouTube. Pod will go out on Spotify and Apple later on this afternoon as well. So if you're watching, drop us a like and subscribe. On all our socials, you'll see them going along the bottom of the screen. This podcast is brought to you by the Across the Pond Sports Network in conjunction with our sponsors, partners, StackBet, the number one place for NFL bet tracking in the UK. Right, we've got a lot to talk through tonight. Quick run through the show. Win or go home at the Steelers. We'll cover that one. El Sacico, is it win and go home for the coaches as well in that game? We'll go through some New Year's resolutions for the Ravens, and then we've got Q&A. We've got quite a few questions to get through tonight. So before we get on to win or go home at the Steelers, obviously we didn't do a pod post. What was the game? Post Green Bay game. So you look at that game
over Christmas, haven't you? Don't know what day of the week it is. Don't know what games we've played. Don't know what game we're going to be playing.
It's been a struggle. An absolute struggle. One of them though, over Christmas and New Year. You don't know whether it's a Monday or a Sunday, do you? Days all blend into one. So we'll just have a quick look over the Packers game. The historic night for Derrick Henry. Obviously, he's coming off that Patriots game where he didn't get a carry for the final 12 minutes and some short change of the Pats game. In the Packers game, he had 15 carries over the first two possessions alone, turned them into 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. He finished the game. He had a career high in carries with 36, 4 touchdowns and 216 rushing yards. That was his most as a Raven. He has now 7 career games with 200 plus rushing yards, the most in NFL history. When you look at it, Derrick Henry's 32 in 2 days' time. A remarkable performance. It was a great win for the Ravens, albeit I think the Packers are kind of stalling as they head to the playoffs. Not to take anything away from the Ravens. Snoop did the job that was asked of him. So, guys, what do we think of that Packers win? And obviously, the pressure it then put on, we saw what happened to the Steelers against the Browns.
Yeah, historic night for Derrick Henry, who it was nice to see still stiff-arming people into other dimensions in the fourth quarter. So the man doesn't really need a break. I think that just showed that the Patriots game was complete malpractice on that front. Just keep riding it into the sunset. I mean, God, he was averaging 6 yards a carry over the course of that game, which is nuts when you're carrying it over 30 times a day, in one game. He didn't really show any signs of slowing down. Brilliant. A very soft Green Bay defense. Obviously, you don't have Parsons anymore. I feel Green Bay are probably trending downwards. And for them, the game was probably over once Malik Willis went down with his shoulder injury. They were looking very competitive. It was a great shootout game before that. It could have gone either way, but the moment that Clayton Tune came in, it was game over. He did not look very good. Malik Willis will be a starting quarterback for someone in 2026. I'm pretty sure about that. But on the whole, the Ravens did enough. Hunting there. I think added 60 yards on the ground as well, got a touchdown. Great performance. Lamar could probably learn a thing or two from that game about just taking what's there and maybe not playing hero ball all the time. But yeah, great win. Made the Steelers choke. And now we've got a fun showdown going Sunday.
Yeah, I think it was a weird one watching it because you want a big performance, but also you don't really know what it means until the following day because we hadn't had obviously the Browns Steelers game. So it was just nice to watch things actually work. Our coaching actually understood, who have we got playing today? We've got Snoop, so let's play things towards Snoop's abilities. We've got Derrick Henry, let's use him. Let's look at the game as it is and let's actually plan accordingly. It's quite refreshing to see that this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we've talked about for a long time, really. The Ravens' offense really is good enough to overpower most defenses when they just play a good, clean game and don't beat themselves. And it felt to me that maybe the line play was a little bit better. Obviously helped by the amount of running in the game. It's easier to run block than it is to pass block. But I think there just wasn't many. There weren't critical errors, were there, in the game? And I think that's just something we've been screaming out for all season. Just play a clean game of football and you will win most of the time.
I mean, you say about the run blocking, that's actually been one of the areas where some of our favourite people on the O-line, Daniel Falele, have struggled more than the pass block this season to a degree. And actually, credit where it's due. I know we had our Christmas #1 hit come out and he may have paid some more attention to it because Falele actually had a good game. He was, credit where it's due. He was a fairly respectable and solid part of that O-line that did a good job. So have to give credit for that.
Just call in from now on.
The Christmas #1, DT, you got a little bit of pushback, didn't you, on TikTok off someone for that?
I mean, I don't really understand their point. They said it was cold, and then they went on to then state Daniel Falele. So I was like, hang on, is it cold, or are you saying it's like I don't know? Maybe it's some new slang that I'm not down with, and they're like, yo, that's cold, man. I don't know, but there we go. It's what is content if you're not going to get a reaction, eh?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say it didn't enter the UK top 40. But we'll go again next year. We've got plenty to go about. Sorry, if you hear anything vibrating, it's my phone on the desk. I had to put the burner phone on silent, so it's on vibrate for now. Just on this, Nathan touched on it there, malpractice. I discussed this before we came on air. Obviously, the Derrick Henry situation in that fourth quarter against the Patriots didn't see the ball for the last 12 minutes and change, as I said in the intro. But then he goes in as a game like he did against the Packers. Does that just further highlight like kind of a gross negligence, malpractice on the coaching front, whether that's head coach John Harbaugh, Todd Monken, for not using him during that Patriots game? Dickie's just got more beef dropped off there, apparently.
It wasn't even me.
I want to say, so you look at it. I just look at it and go, it's just. And I know there was a different QB under center for the Packers game, albeit Lamar obviously left the Patriots game with a back injury. And I understand that it's a different game plan and all that, but I'm just thinking, you look at what the 40, and I've brought them up the last couple of weeks, and Shanahan, the 49ers and Shanahan, what they're doing, they're running an injury ravaged running back in Christian McCaffrey. He's been superb, the amount of injuries he's had, but yet he still comes back, and they have absolutely ran him into the ground week in, week out to get wins for the team. Brock Purdy's done his bit in, you know, what they're doing, but I just look at it and go, it's just extreme. It's not proactive coaching what we're doing here. It's not proactive leadership. It's reactionary. It's kind of like, we're up shit creek now without a paddle. Just give the ball to Derrick Henry and, you know, see if he can carry us to a win.
I think part of it is just reacting to the comments, isn't it? You know, it's, oh shit, we fucked up, so I'm going to have to do something to appease the fans and show that I know what I'm doing. Let's just do it because, you know, yeah, you called it, I should have done it. You know, there was no way that Derek wasn't going to get the ball. I don't know why I'm calling him Derek on first name terms. Yeah, maybe not, but I don't know why Derek, you know, he's going to get the ball anyway, because if we didn't, then suddenly everyone will say, hang on a second, you just said you were wrong to not give him the ball in the Packers game. What's going on? It's just what should be there all the time. I mean, hopefully it's not going to be necessarily a McCaffrey situation where it's probably at the detriment of the player's longevity, because if Derrick Henry got injured and wasn't able to replicate what he's been doing this season, last season, and does start to really trend downwards, then we kind of are screwed for the next couple of years. I don't see us drafting or being able to pick up another solid running back for the style that we have akin to Derrick Henry in the next couple of years. So hopefully he can still keep going and we can manage that. But just giving up on him in the last quarter is not managing him. It's just stupid.
Yeah, he's a player that has looked after himself incredibly well over the years. I think he does all like the cryogenics and all that after games, gets in like ice baths and things. I mean, his recovery is insane. To not be used in the fourth quarter and then to put that kind of performance out there the week after, I think is a bit of a middle finger from Derrick Henry, maybe up to the brass, and say, look, I don't need to actually, maybe 1 or 2 snaps in a drive, you can hold me out to get a quick breather, but I don't need to not be playing for 5 to 7 minutes in a game, especially when your jobs are on the line. I would expect to see a lot of runs from him in the Steelers game, especially because we don't really know how mobile Lamar's going to be. So I would expect to see a similar game plan this week. But it's just, it's nuts. And if we don't make it to the playoffs, I think this will be one of the examples of the malpractice that has a complete overhaul going into the new year.
Yeah, I mean, DT, my comments about obviously kind of running him into the ground. I wasn't saying like, you know, it was to be at the detriment of the player. I was just saying, look, that your 49ers are doing this with I just kind of thought, just the fact that we all know what happened during that past game, and I'm just thinking, they're just reacting now to a scenario that they themselves have put themselves in, like.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry's performance was a massive middle finger. I think, and you know, he was quite gracious in what he said after the Pats game about not seeing the ball and all that. Some of the comments he made, but yeah, it's just reactionary.
I think there's sometimes an element of the Ravens coaches can't win, you know, in some respects. I mean, in that last quarter against the Pats, you know, it was baffling why Derrick Henry wasn't in the game. And, you know, when you sort of essentially need a couple more first downs to ice the game, they obviously went with Keaton Mitchell. I think we've all been screaming for weeks, you know, we need to see more Keaton Mitchell. He's electric. He makes plays. And you know, he absolutely does. Didn't manage to get that done in the Pats game. How many times, you know, have we seen, you know, in those sort of critical situations, they have put Derrick Henry into the game and the opposing team has stacked the box because everyone knows what is going to happen. And Derrick Henry gets 2 yards on first down, 2 yards on second down, and then we're in like 3rd and 6 where we haven't quite managed to convert that play. Now you can argue, well, like, could we be a bit more creative in certain situations? But ultimately, if Keaton Mitchell manages to make one play and gets a couple more first downs, or like, we're not talking about that situation. I think last week against Green Bay, we're now moaning about them because they used Derrick Henry and he had a career game. Well, you know, Green Bay's front was weaker. They've had some injuries. Maybe Todd Monken just planned the perfect game, because ultimately he does sort of know what he's doing. I know the offense has had a down year. And there's different factors for that. The lad hasn't forgotten how to call offensive plays. Last year we were thinking he was the best play caller ever. So I don't think we can absolutely tear them down if we think they make a wrong decision, but let's give them their credit that they're not idiots, and there will be a logic behind what they're doing. They're not just throwing magic beans into the ground and seeing what grows.
I mean, panto season, you have to get a magic beans in there, didn't you?
Then we start to quote Aesop's Fables in a minute.
What was I going to say? Obviously, that win from the Ravens, all the pressure kind of then went on to the Steelers. Then it was very active, very vibrant, very loud in the WhatsApp chats during that Steelers Bengals Browns game. For me, I mean, my take on watching that game was the Steelers were too interested in not letting Myles Garrett get the sack record, and they just forgot about everything else. Going to be interesting to see how much they're going to continue to miss DK Metcalf, because there was a couple of plays there, especially that last play towards the end of the game. If DK Metcalf's on the field, I think they scored a touchdown there with that last throw. Did anyone else watch that game?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
4D chess from the Ravens, actually. So all of the talk wasn't it? We beat the Patriots. We can rest all of the guys against Green Bay. We're assuming that Steelers beat the Browns. It's still a Week 18 showdown. And obviously the Steelers watching us lose to the Patriots assumed that they had the division in their pocket, didn't really turn up against the Browns team they should have beaten easily. They've suffered a demoralizing loss going into week 18. Ravens have all of the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, without DK Metcalf, the Pittsburgh receiving core is just a trash pile. Outside of a couple of tight ends, but Johnny Smith, who lit up the league last year, is barely being used. I don't have a clue what Pittsburgh's plan was last week. They seemed to care far more about ruining Cleveland's day than actually focusing on what they actually had to do.
Darnell Washington with a broken arm as well. That's going to be a big loss for their run game, isn't it?
Look, before we go on to preview the Steelers game, and there's so many kind of stories kind of like underlying to this game coming up. In between, I can't even remember when it was, being Christmas. So over the obviously Christmas period, there was some comments made by Mike Preston at the Baltimore Sun. Now, first things first, I'm a avid reader of the Baltimore Sun, just for the Baltimore sports teams. And when that leak came out, a lot of people in the press and media in the US kind of said, don't listen to a word that Mike Preston says. Interestingly, that Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd chose to run with it, and it was kind of like it had been written on the same stone as one of the 10 Commandments, and took gospel on it. What I value Nick Wright's opinions on NFL football, you could write on the back of a postage stamp. That is another. That's one for another episode. We can probably do an episode slating Nick Wright. I'd enjoy that one because the guys are fucking. The guys are no, he's a bell end. There's other people I'd rather DT. There's other people that we all dislike that I would rather have on this show than Nick Wright, regardless of the tens of thousands of people he could possibly bring. But look, the comments. I haven't got the actual press report, but it was along the lines of Lamar Jackson doesn't want to be there. He's fallen asleep in meetings. He is awake till 2:00 at night playing computer games. Lamar Jackson has obviously since come out and kind of faced the skepticism. He did some media yesterday in regards to his back injury. He said he has been really hurt. He was quoted saying, "I'll never quit on my team," and I don't know where that noise has come from. On the comments of falling asleep in meetings, he said, "Do you think Coach Harbaugh would let me fall asleep in meetings? That's crazy. I'm right in the front. It's just noise." He said he doesn't even play computer games till 2:00 in the off season. So again, he doesn't know where that comes from. Lamar Jackson has been a full participant for the last 2 days' practices. We don't know what his participation is today. I presume it's going to be full. Todd Monken has come out and said it's the closest that Jackson has been to full strength in the last couple of months. If he practices on Friday, it would mark the first time that he has been a full participant in every practice in a week since week 10. Monken then went on to say, "We're excited, nothing like having your quarterback out there every day." Firstly, views on the comments. Was it a leak, or is Mike Preston just, kind of just gone and plucked that out of the sky and thought, "I know what will get some views and clickbait"? Obviously, and secondly, is it an underlying? Is this being, if it has been a leak, is it being leaked in regards to Lamar Jackson's $72.5 million cap hit next year? Sorry, Chris, if you're listening, if I've got any of that wrong, I know you'll be listening down in Brazil. I know you're the cap expert now for the Ravens Trust the Pollen community. So I apologise, I got that right, because it's going to account for 25% of the Ravens cap next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all comes into it, and I think it's all of the above in the sense that it's getting to that time of season where he's going to have to start creating some agenda to be able to drive some kind of story about the off season and what's going to happen with Lamar. So this starts that ball rolling. It's okay. Lamar's not happy. He's not in on it. The Ravens aren't happy with what he's doing. It's what's going to happen in the off season. Is there going to be trade talk? Can we start this ball rolling now? Because it's going to get a bit quiet from a media day. So let's start that conversation now, so we can start reporting over the next few weeks, depending on what happens in the playoffs, and we can build upon that. And the leak may just be a random bit of talk that's been taken out of context. Somehow, there are situations where sometimes things get leaked, and often, if you don't have the right context, you take it the wrong way and you make opinions based on that. I mean, I don't think that should happen. That's often quite wrong. But, it does happen. And this is what happened here. It's going to be blown out of proportion, probably. I can't see Lamar sitting back and sleeping in meetings after having his big thing in the earlier season where he was all in, get rid of the ping pong tables. I'm doing this. I'm going to be the big voice. And then suddenly switch off. I don't care. I'm going to play. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And also, if you are someone that's not happy with the team, you're going to want to drive your value up as much as possible, get as many suitors as possible. I mean, he'll happen regardless of his mindset. But teams want a player that's going to be, just focus on them non-stop. So it makes zero sense to me, and I think it's just nonsense to drive views.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm not bothered really, but by a lot of the stuff. I mean, Lamar's a young man in his 20s. Like, who hasn't stayed up till 2 a.m. watching, playing video games? We've all done it.
Sorry, watching what, Richard?
Yeah, was there a P there?
I was going to say, but like, I stay up sometimes before work watching Lamar play football games. It's probably not the most sensible life choice I can make. But I don't think that there was any suggestion in the leak that Lamar was doing that the night before the Patriots game. I mean, he might have done it in a past season once or twice. Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I mean, falling asleep during meetings, as somebody that often has to sit in meetings that say the same sort of thing year after year, Lamar's falling asleep during John Harbaugh's welcome to the off-season talk. He's heard it 7 times before. It's probably a better use of his time, in all honesty. make sure he's fully rested. But no, I mean, obviously that's me being a bit facetious. I also can't see a John Harbaugh team. We have a go at Harbaugh for different things, but I think he would not be letting somebody fall asleep in a meeting. That's just not his MO at all. I don't think Lamar would be doing that because he's a very respectful guy at the end of the day. As for the contract talk, we know that Lamar's cap hit is massive for the next 2 years. That's unsustainable. The team have to find an extension of some description, which is also in Lamar's best interest to sign because his bank account will get even more healthier after doing that. But this is entirely consistent from Lamar. Lamar has never, to our knowledge, negotiated with the team in season. Even coming off his rookie deal, obviously when he stood to gain, generational wealth for himself and his family, he didn't negotiate in season when. I don't know why we'd expect this time to be any different. Lamar has always said, year after year, in season, I am focused on winning football games, not on contract talks. And we know he doesn't have an agent, although, so I don't entirely know how that process plays out in terms of negotiations. But I'm not shocked and I'm not surprised. And I don't think that this is a sign that Lamar Jackson is dissatisfied with the Ravens front office and wants to trade to Miami and all of the rest of the nonsense that Preston was talking about.
I mean, did anybody see that? What was the trailer show yesterday? It's the Vikings for JJ McCarthy. Nearly fell off my fucking chair when I seen that. It's just not happening. I mean, I don't believe a word that Mike Preston writes down on a piece of paper. It was a guy that said that the Ravens shouldn't have drafted Ed Reed. So that's for a guy to say that at some point during his career just shows you that he doesn't know his arse from his elbow and he couldn't find his arse in a dark room with his own hands. So that's that one.
You get more views with clickbait than you do with good common sense journalism.
I mean, our views are through the roof, though. So are we just clickbait or are we common sense journalism, Dickie?
No, we've just got Richard.
I think we are very much a bastion of common sense.
It's got to be something.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we are. We play the line.
Yeah. So all that kind of leads on to win or go home at the Steelers. Now, it's been a running theme on this podcast so far that we have never got a fucking prediction right. We've got wins right, we've got losses right, we've never got a score prediction right. However, very early on during our infancy as a podcast, we said that everything that is happening this season, it is all going to come down to that final game of the year against the Steelers in Pittsburgh, where the Ravens are going to need to win to get it over the line. As much as it pains me to say it, we got a fucking prediction right. There is, as I said, there is so many kind of underlying stories to this that are running on in the background. This, in a weird way, it kind of feels right that the season is coming down to this. And I feel like we are going to get a game against the Steelers that we haven't had for a very, very long time. And it's going to take us back to those days in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where it's kind of been in practice all week. Let's not touch anyone. Save it all for Sunday, and we're going to leave it all out on the field. I think this is going to be an explosive game. I think it's going to be possibly an ill-disciplined game. I just think there's so much on the line for both teams here. I think this game is going to be an absolute fucking barnstormer of a game.
It's a great one for the tinfoil hat wearers of the community who believe everything about the NFL is incredibly scripted and have been calling this is going to happen for ages. the ordering of it didn't matter. There was talk about maybe not beating Green Bay, and it didn't matter because this was going to be the shootout game. I think the NFL, whether this was what they needed for Week 18, they needed to have a game which had something all on the line. I just hope that the refs don't ruin it by doing things that the refs do like to do. Just let them play 60 minutes of hard-hitting football, old-fashioned defense from both teams. I don't want to see any big flags ruin what could be a beautiful winning game for either side. And but I do fear that the zebras on the field are gonna have a big part of the outcome either way.
We've got Sean Smith, haven't we, repping it? So that's always going to be fun.
Just in regards to just to kind of reiterate how big this game is. For 3 decades now, this game has been like the marquee game at the AFC North. The brutal hits, like every game is always like a nail-biting margin of victory, and there's always high stakes on the game. The game is defined both cultures of both teams, in my opinion, over the last 30 years. The Ravens have always said it: you're not a Raven until you've beaten the Steelers. When they suit up on Sunday, 8:20 is Eastern time, so what's that? 1:20 UK time. It will mark the first winner-take-all game in the final week of the regular season between the two teams, and it's only the second winner-takes-all regular season finale in the division since the AFC North was formed in 2002. That is how big this game is, like historic.
Yeah, I feel like we've always played the Bengals in the last game of the season, so I feel like that's probably a part of it. The fact we've never had a showdown against the Steelers.
We've had Steelers last game of the season for a few years, recently.
I feel like it's always feels like it's always the Bengals.
Yeah,
we've been too good. We just like last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, we clinched the number 1 seed. By this point, it's been one of those games where there's been heavily rested players, and it's felt like an absolute nothing game for ages as well.
It's definitely a where's your manhood game, isn't it? You've got 2 sets of players, 2 proud franchises, 2 the longest tenured coaches in the NFL. There's a healthy respect there, but the win or go home element. Everyone's trying to feed their families, aren't they? And it's going to come down to who wants it the most, and be on the winning side, because that losing locker room is going to be a brutal place to be sat in.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good one. Look, going into this game, we're going to have to talk Ravens defense again. So the Ravens have given up an NFL worst 32 completions on passes of at least 20 yards in the air this season, including a season high 6 during the 41-24 win at Green Bay. Harbaugh has come out and he said that the issue was poor technique by the cornerbacks and a lack of communication among the defensive backs. Talk about throwing your players under the bus. It's a surprising comment, because you look at how loaded the Ravens secondary is. 4 first-round picks, cornerbacks, Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey, safeties, Kyle Hamlin and Malachi Starks. Why are you throwing your players under the bus like that? And, go on.
I don't mind calling them out. I think have that accountability. Nate Wiggins had the worst game of his career, right? He knows he should be better than that. Hopefully he's going to, John Harbaugh knows how to motivate guys, right? Maybe, I don't think he says anything accidentally in these press conferences. Possibly a deliberate ploy to light some fire under these guys. I think, what I sort of think, and I've banged this drum a few times, don't know that there's accountability in games for Ravens players. So Nate Wiggins had a bad game. It happens. It's sport, whatever. He wasn't quite on the money and got picked on. Why isn't Nate Wiggins just put on the bench for half a quarter and we just go to the next guy, next man up? Right, you get an opportunity to go and show that you can be an NFL level cornerback. Why do we stack these guys and just sit them on the bench or let them play special teams? In any other professional sport or league, if a guy's not having a bad game, they get subbed off. Why did we leave Nate Wiggins out there to give up, 7 catches, 4 of which went for massive yardage? And this is where I would grind my axe against the coach. And if you got a guy that isn't performing, why are you leaving him out there? You're not telling me that the guy you drafted in the 3rd round can't go out there and put a few plays together.
I think it's a ridiculous time to make the comment that he'd made. Malik Willis played a fantastic game of football. Yes, the stats might have been bad over the course of the year, but of all the times to come out and make a comment like that, it feels completely wrong place, wrong time. Malik Willis lit up. I mean, just his scrambling ability to get kind of out of the pocket to make the plays that he did. I mean, that was where the big plays came from. So if you want to look at any part of the defense, try and not let him escape the pocket in the first place. Don't flame your secondary. I mean, and also, why are you doing it a week before the biggest, game of the season? Of all the times where he could have just shut up shop and said, oh no, we're focusing on next week, this was the time to do it. God, I mean, he always seems to say the complete wrong thing at any given time this year. That seems to be my kind of view of when he comes out and says things. So it's not surprising, but it's just mad that he would go out and say it with such a big game on the line. Way to put confidence in your defense, especially DK's not going to be out there. He was a big problem in the reverse fixture last time out. Hype up your secondary going into what is a receiving core of Pittsburgh that is, absolutely horrendous. Why would you put them down when they're going up against, not the best thing in the world? Give them a bit of confidence boost. Say that they actually made some good plays, and and if you've got nothing good to say, then shut up.
This is where Harbs can't win, because if he'd have come out and stonewalled that question, said, I have absolute confidence in my secondary, half the fan base would have been going, same old Harbs, doesn't see the problems, bin him off because he's not reacting, he's not sorting out the problems, he's not being proactive. So he literally can't win whatever he does.
He's been saying that about the offensive line all year. Why do you take one stance with one positional group and then flame the other one? Just be consistent.
I mean, I think it's one of those things. There's a healthy medium there. I don't think you need to go all in on it. I mean, to be fair, maybe he knows the players, and maybe he actually knows that kind of public flaming is what riles them up, and he knows that that's what's going to get a reaction out of it. We don't know that. And I think to the point around
behind the scenes.
Well, this is Dickie's favourite quote. Wow, it's interesting. I mean, we don't know what's happened. What we don't know, actually, is what's being said to them on the sideline. This is the thing. It's different to other sports where, you take UK football where they're in there for 90 minutes. They don't have a break other than half time. They have time when they're off the field where they're sitting down, they're watching what happened. They're watching the playback on their iPads or whatever. And you'll have someone in their area going, look, what's going on here? Are you okay to still be in this game? We can't keep hearing up these plays. That could be addressed in real time. Not that Richard knows what real time is, apparently, as I learned this morning. But it's it's one of those things where you can address those things there and then. And if he's saying, yeah, sorry, coach, I'm good, so cool. Have faith in your players. It's an interesting one. But this is the game now where, as you said, Nathan, I don't think we have anything to worry about from a receiving core of the Steelers. Touch wood, horrible thing to say going into this game, but it's a real opportunity now for us to be yeah, cool, put that behind us. Big performance in the secondary, crack on. And I think really you hit the nail on the head in terms of the biggest issue was just letting Malik Willis do that more than anything. You give quarterbacks enough time to throw, they are always going to be a separation in the secondary. That's it. You can't chase your man when he's dipping and diving non-stop for that long. It comes down to our pass rush, as it always does. And that's kind of the critical thing going into this game.
Well, and It's almost like you read my mind there, DT.
What can I say? Spent too much time with you, sadly.
You don't mean that.
I
Spending an awful lot of time. Look, obviously, we've already mentioned Steelers without DK Metcalf. Calvin Austin looks like he's going to be back. He sat out the Browns game with a hamstring injury. Gainwell spent an awful lot of the time against the Browns as an extra blocker to protect Aaron Rodgers. However, Ravens pass rush isn't anywhere near. It just hasn't been as good this season. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Rodgers shift his targets to the running backs. I just don't think they could. With the Ravens pass rush, I think that is where the issue is going to be. Darnell Washington, obviously, tight end is out. We're going to obviously expect to see Pat Freiermuth see more of an expanded role during this game, and possibly as a blocker. The Ravens have the league's fourth worst passing defense, giving up an average of 245.3 passing yards to opponents. And over the past 3 weeks, they've been second worst passing defense after the New York Jets.
Great company. I think, that pass rush is going to be key. Like, I think we saw it last week, as we said. Obviously, Rodgers didn't want to get sacked. He didn't want to give up that record, and that caused him to be throwing ridiculous throws and missing his throws all over the place and being completely off the money. And that's what we need to look at and think, right, that's our game plan. We need to try and get to Rodgers as much as possible, put him under pressure, make him get rid of the ball as quick as possible to some very unreliable receiving targets. And that's how we win this game. That's how we absolutely decimate this game. And, there was a comment came in from the YouTube live about the pressure on Zach Orr and does he need to go, etc. Well, this is the game where that can be decided. Like, he can easily drive up a really good game plan for this game, knowing what state the Steelers are in with their injuries, knowing what's to come. We can absolutely, he can coach this game in a way with the defense to say, right, we're going to learn from what they did against the Browns, and we can double down on that. Like, we can get to him. This is where our pass rush is going to turn up. This is the game where it's going to really make its statement to say, actually, we're not as bad as everyone thinks we are in terms of getting to the quarterback. We can drive up some plays to do it. We can bring some of those secondary guys in. We've seen it before where Hamilton can rush, Humphrey can rush, like all Gilman can rush. We've seen that like a couple of weeks ago, I think it was. Like, there's lots of plays in there to do that, and this is where we can really just cause an issue from the off and just throw them completely off the ball game from Q1.
Yeah. Thanks for the question at the Manny Lad on YouTube. Pittsburgh defense hasn't been the greatest. However, since they gave up 217 rushing yards to the Ravens, 94 of them went to Derrick Henry. The Steelers haven't allowed an opponent to post 100 rushing yards. In the past 3 weeks, the Steelers have held their opponents to league best 52 rushing yards per games. What's more remarkable is they did it without TJ Watt, who could possibly return this week. I'm a big fan of this guy I'm going to mention now. And when he's back, the Steelers defense, especially the Russian defense, is phenomenal. Rookie defensive tackle Derek Harmon. When he plays, the Steelers hold their opponents to an average of 80 fewer rushing yards per game. He's returned back now from a second knee injury. Tomlin was quoted saying, maybe it's just Derek Harmon coming back. You look at the contributions across the board from the Steelers. Obviously, they've got a guy that we are very aware of, Patrick Queen, Haywood, Malik Harrison, Nick Herbig, and Alex Highsmith. That is a elevated defensive strength now for the Steelers, considering the weakness early on in the season. So, where's this game going to be won and lost for the Ravens?
I mean, that's a key point, isn't it? Like, on the defense, it depends on who they have playing and what strength they're at. But for us, I think actually we can. This is a real opportunity, especially if Watt's not playing or if he's limited or if he's not kind of full strength. It's a proper opportunity to dominate that run game if we can abuse like the likes of Lamar's talents. If they see Lamar as a run threat, then we can absolutely win, because they'll be worried about the edge, and then that opens up like lanes for Henry in the middle. If they don't think we're going to attack the edge on the rushes, then we've got no chance, because they'll just stuff then Derrick Henry down the middle, and then they'll try and force him out wide, and he doesn't do as well when he's doing out wide runs. Maybe we get a couple of plays with Henry and Mitchell in the thing if Lamar's not playing, like if he's not down to run as he used to. Like, we need to make them think that, okay, we've got to really protect this edge, so that opens up those lanes down the middle, and vice versa as well. Like, that's where we win it, is by really giving them a couple of looks and just not letting them know what we're planning. So, Tom Monken, over to you, mate.
100%.
Well, I have to say, Tom, you've laid it out really clearly, but I'm a bit disappointed, really. We all know these games are won and lost on special teams. Jordan Stout with some big spiral bombs, creating a long field for Aaron Rodgers, maybe. But no, in all seriousness, really, we have to establish the run, don't we? We have to be getting into, second and short, third and short situations. I think we really have no faith in our O-line to be able to protect Lamar, who may or may not be limited with his movement in the pocket. I don't want this to turn into a game where Lamar stood there waiting for plays to develop. I think we need a really quick passing game, which will come off a successful run game, putting the Steelers defense on the back foot. I think in terms of where our defense needs to be, I think just avoiding catastrophic plays. I think we're aware that we're unlikely to get an amazing amount of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. So I think therefore we just need to stay disciplined. We certainly don't want to see the ball sailing over Wiggins or Marlon's head on the outside. I think just executing the fundamentals well as a team. And I think if we can do that, then we'll have enough. Obviously, the Steelers do have some critical game time decisions in TJ Watt. If he's on the field, I potentially wouldn't leave him unblocked like we seem to be doing in the last Steelers game. But yeah, just play a good, solid game of football. Don't make critical errors like fumbles or communication breakdowns in the secondary.
Yeah, the Green Bay game is the template, isn't it, for how this team should play going forward. You focus on the run, and then when you're not running, you get the ball out quick. Snoop has shown it's completely possible to do that. Lamar needs to, I think, for one game only, or just one game at a time, play the game that needs to be played and not the game that he wants to play. And you get their defense focusing on the run, and you can get the ball out maybe to Zay very quickly, and he might be able to pull off a home run hit just with his own kind of breakaway speed that he can do. I think you just play the exact same style of game again, run it completely down them over and over again, and then let them try and stack the box. And then when they do that and they sell out, then you pass. But don't try and wait ages for plays to develop that never do, because that's, I think, one of the biggest frustrations that we've kind of had all year. Just get the ball out quick. Whatever you do it fast, run them down. I think 25 points is probably enough to win this game. So that's probably should be the main focus, is just run a game plan that can get you those points.
At that time of the week again, gents. I mean, it could be it could be emotional, because it could be the last one of the season that we do. Hopefully not. It's the time of the week where us four look like dickheads, get it wrong. Score predictions for the games.
Who's going first this week? I'll go first. I said 25 points will get it done. I think we end up probably scoring 27, and I'm not entirely invested in what the Pittsburgh team can do. I think it'll be close, because I think it's in the NFL's best interest to keep it close. So I think it'll probably end up being something like 27-20.
I just don't think the Steelers have got anything this week. I think injuries have fucked them. I think their head's gone. I think not having Metcalf is a massive thing, and to lose him due to punching a fan is just going to be an absolute piss take for them, but I think they'll be struggling to get touchdowns. I think they'll probably end up getting some yards from stupid penalties, as we've just touched on. I think they probably get maybe 17 points, and I think we dominate. I think 38-17.
I applaud that optimism. I'm also team close. I think 29-26 to the Ravens.
This is our game to turn up. I'm telling you, it's not optimism. It's just people have slept on us. We've been that team that no one's really that worried about now because we had a terrible season. But going back to ASOP again, it's the tortoise and the hare. We've been sleeping, we've been slow. Now it's time to absolutely power through.
I don't even know.
It's got to be something, Tom.
It has got to be something.
21-17.
But to who?
Ravens. Luke wins it with a 48-yard.
48-yarder. There we go. Not quite as dangerous.
There we go. We'll push for time because baby daddy's got duties to do, so we'll try and get through these as quick as we can. Is the game El Sacico? Obviously, people listening, if you're obviously huge football games in Spain are called El Clasico, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and it tends to be a thing now in football where two teams are going up against each other, two struggling managers, and Sky Sports will label it El Sacico. Nathan doesn't have to worry about an El Sacico for a while, being a Chelsea fan. They've just got rid of Enzo Maresca and they're getting some guy called Rossini in. Don't know how much skin in the game he's got. However, a lot on the line for two head coaches this weekend. John Harbaugh at the Steelers, John Harbaugh at the Ravens, Mike Tomlin at the Steelers. Is it whoever loses gets sacked?
I think so. I think I said at the start of the season, as we had touched on, it's John Harbaugh's biggest game of his career, non-Super Bowl. This is a season where the FC North has been shocking, and for the possibility that a team is getting into the playoffs with a 9-8 record is that's in itself is ridiculous, and it's not what we're used to for AFC North. But that in itself has shown how shit our division's been, and we're still not able to do well with that. Neither head coach has been able to do well with that. John Harbaugh's, at the end of the day, if he doesn't make the playoffs with this roster, that is a huge failure, and that has to be addressed. It won't be a sacking; it'll be I've had a great game. I think it's time for me to move aside and learn the next, all those kind of nice handshakes and deals we kind of talked about. As for Tomlin, to throw away the playoffs by losing two divisional games back to back at the end of the season in the manner that he lost last week and is going to lose this week, that in itself is just shit. And that'll be another season where they've just about managed to scrape a positive record. Just baffling that he's still there. I like the guy. I think he's a good head coach, and I have a lot of respect for him for a rival's head coach. But that in itself is just a massive failure.
I mean, I hope he goes. I think it would be one of the biggest failures of a franchise. I mean, Mike Tomlin has carried that franchise through some very weird times, and has always managed to keep them over 500. I think it's probably in the Ravens' best interests to get him out of the building. I think you could see them completely fall apart from the inside out if he leaves and they get someone else in who doesn't carry the kind of same respect that he's kind of got over the years. So, yeah, I think I still think they keep him another year. So, minimum. I think if Harbaugh loses this game, he's gone, as he rightly should be. I just don't feel that it would quite work for Tomlin the other way around. It would be nice. I think I'd like it personally for Pittsburgh to go in a new direction and have 3 or 4 years of hopefully being irrelevant. So, but I just don't see it happening for them.
Dickie?
Yeah, I mean, I think given the loyalty and the stability that both franchises have shown, I can fully see both of these guys coaching week one for the teams that they're currently coaching. I don't think either of them are getting sacked, regardless. I just think, we talk about it. There's a bit of hype, maybe a bit more pressure on the game, but I don't think it's going to impact their careers.
I mean, I don't think it's a case of whoever loses gets sacked. I think they're both going to go, and we'll get onto that because there's a couple of questions in the Q&A. Quick one. New Year's, new resolutions, new ideas. You make yourself new promises. Usually go in the gym by the 5th of January. You're back in the chocolate cupboard and your gym membership for the year's paid and it doesn't get used. When I join a gym, when I do a tour of the gym, I sign up depending on what's available in the vending machines. So my New Year's resolution is never to go to the gym. Guys, New Year resolutions for the Ravens. What do you want them to change, to make a conscious change to improve our mental well-being mainly? I'd like to start, and I'll say I want them to start being more aggressive as a front office. I think there's been opportunities. There's been, me and Richard have had this debate over the draft and all that. I want them to be aggressive in this year's draft. I want them to be aggressive in getting acquisitions in when needed, when there is a clear downfall, O-line this season. Haven't addressed it. I just want them to be more proactive and aggressive.
I want them to be more aggressive on the field. I want them to start playing like a Raven again. Simple.
I want them to change their organizational philosophy, actually. I think this is a league where a well-executed offense will always beat a well-executed defense. I'm not saying, if you average it out, the defense doesn't win sometimes, but I think the NFL are changing the rules all the time to make offenses more potent. I think, and I think specifically for us, when we build our defense, we've always said we're building from the back to the front. You can never have too many cornerbacks. Well, I think as we've seen this year, the best cornerback in the leagues will not maintain constant coverage on even sort of above average wide receivers if the quarterback has got all the time in the world to throw. So I want us to make a real change on defense and build the nastiest front seven that we can manage, even if that means that our cornerbacks maybe aren't as good in the future, because I think getting pressure on the quarterback is the way forward.
Fair enough.
Mine would be to get that big game mentality back, to stop choking in games that matter the most, to stop goal line fumbles. Zay Flowers, looking at you again, we didn't talk about it, but your touchdown against Green Bay was very, very close to not being a touchdown. So we'll let you off this week, but Jesus Christ. Just become the big game team that we know they can be. They are so... Lamar Jackson is too talented to go potentially to the playoffs again, and for it to only last one game. They just need to become the team that they have been when they've been 14-2 in the regular season. We know it's there. Just that big game mentality, I think they need to develop this year. And whether that comes from a complete overhaul of the coaching staff and keeping Lamar and saying, right, this is how we're going to be, or maybe they go on a run and completely surprise us. Maybe by February we could be talking about this team as a Super Bowl winner, but I doubt it. Maybe more for the regular season to develop that.
There's no chance of Chelsea winning the league, mate.
And I'll tell you what, you said about Liam Rosenior just now. I wouldn't be shocked if he was sacked one more time before the end of the Premier League season, because that is the way that Chelsea seem to be doing things at the moment.
The only team that sacks their managers more is Watford, and they're both shit organisations. So sorry for that, Troy Deeney, for when you come on the pod, but I'll tell you to your face.
Well, you're not even a Luton fan, though, are you? You're a Cardiff fan who lives in Bedford. Sure.
Luton are my favourite abroad team.
Abroad team, Jesus fucking Christ! Right, that time of the week Q&A. We've got quite a few. We've got 4 questions this week. A couple of them are from new members of the community. We had a massive influx of people who joined and wanted to get involved, like what we do, like what we say, like our opinions. So 4 questions. I'm going to give you 1 each. So I'm going to give this one to Nathan. So Grant via WhatsApp said, is there a scenario where Lamar Jackson and Snoop Utley are both active and play in the same game next week?
I mean, they'll definitely both be active because Lamar said he's going to be playing. Todd, again, this is typical Ravens fashion. Todd Monken said it's the healthiest he's been. Yeah, we already know that he's going to be playing in a bit of a flak jacket to protect the back. So, not both of these statements can be true. He's either the most healthy he's been, or he has to wear extra back padding for the game because something's wrong with his back. So, I think they'll both be active. Whether you see them both get used, I don't think they'll actively look to do it. I think it will be reactionary if he needs to be in the medical tent or the game's already done. That would be the nicest scenario. We see him in the 4th quarter because DT's predictions come in and we're riding off into a lovely playoff run. That would be, for me, the only kind of 2 times we see him. I don't think we're going to get any kind of designed plays from him in the middle of the game. I think it would be a mistake too.
Fair enough. Grant, I hope that's answered your question. If not, just at Nathan in the group and give him a load of shit.
Just do it anyway.
Friendly banter is allowed. That's not hindered on the wrong side of abuse. Talking of a guy who gets a lot of banter, some might say abuse. Richard, this one's for you. Off Poco via WhatsApp. I laugh every time I see that name. Like one of the funniest things I have ever seen on WhatsApp. That is up there with remove yourself from my DMs. I'm just putting it out there. One of the funniest 48 hours I have ever seen. Fucko says, the question's gone now. Via WhatsApp, do we need to take a leaf out of the Snoop game plan and adapt that to Lamar in the game and stop asking him to do too much? Over to you, Dickie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think we've discussed these themes throughout the pod. I think ideally,
don't answer the community questions then. We've already answered it. See you later, lads. Thank you very much. We've been Ravens across the pond. To see you on the next one.
Well, just listen to everything we've said over the last few weeks and you'll have your answer, won't you? I mean, it's interesting that you asked that because I know I've addressed it already.
It's half term. I shouldn't have to repeat myself to students.
Ideally, Derrick Henry gets rolling with a healthy average and gets 20 carries in the game. Lamar isn't needed to do too much, but yeah, realistically, I think the team have to. We know Lamar isn't going to be fully fit. The team have to really sit down with Lamar Jackson, have a really honest conversation about, okay, what are you physically capable of doing? No bravado, no hero ball talk. Just what can you do? Here are the plays we are going to tailor to ensure that you can have success. I think if you ask a 80% fit Lamar Jackson to do things that are 100% fit Lamar Jackson can do, that's going to lead to some really bad plays, some really poor decisions, and like potentially turnovers. I don't think Lamar Jackson has to be 100% fit to win the game, but just execute a really clean game plan. This is what we can do to allow you to get the ball away quickly. Here are some easy throws which you can make. Whether he's gonna want to scramble or not, I personally don't think he's going to want to be doing that. But just here are some easy options for you. And we don't need you to be throwing into double coverage. We don't need you to be pulling off dancing around in the pocket for 12 seconds and then taking off and scrambling for 32 yards. So, yeah, absolutely. Any team in any professional league in any sport could be adapting the game plan to what the players are comfortable doing.
So the answer is yeah, we got there in the end.
I didn't know Dickie was such a sports fan. He's been addressing every single professional sports now. He seems to know what happens in all sports, despite the fact he has no idea what actually happens in other sports because he doesn't watch any of them. But hey,
I'm a big fan of Pro Kabaddi.
he's a fan of both. He's a fan of both sports. DT, this one's for you. Via WhatsApp of Henrietta. How far in the playoffs do we go that results in Biscotti not pressing the clean house button, or how far do we go in him? There's a joke there. Choosing to clean house.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to be the talking point. I don't want to go and say we've addressed it loads on the pod because that's not how this thing works, Richard. I think even if we win one game, in the playoffs, there's still a big conversation to have. I think it's, I think clean house is. I don't think we're going to clean house personally. Like, I think Zach Orr stays. I think of all of them, I think he's still someone that's shown promise, and I don't know if we're going to bring someone in that's going to be an absolute game changer beyond him personally. So I don't know if we clean house necessarily, but if the question is particularly focused around Harbour, I think even one game in is a question where we need to look at it and think, it's still not good enough. Depends on the performance, obviously. But in terms of saving it, like, I don't know. I think even if we win the Super Bowl, I think that's the perfect opportunity for Harbour to then go, you know what, guys? Happy days. I've done well. This is now my time. Happy to go on a high. I think if we get to the Super Bowl, we can still have that conversation. I think we get to the championship game. That probably gives him a bit of a life to say, you know what, 1 year left in the contract, going to see it out. Let's make our changes that we need to make. We learned a lot this season. I think that's kind of where the line is, probably the championship game.
Fair enough. The last one. This one, believe it or not, is being sent in by one of our very own, Oliver, which to me hasn't got time to write back to say that he can't make the podcast today. He's AWOL. Didn't recommend the time or anything. Probably busy doing HR duties. Oliver said, which of the four AFC North teams is likely to start the season with the same head coach next year? I'm inclined to. It's either going to be 1 out of 4 or 0 out of 4. I say that I think Zach Taylor at the Bengals is under immense amount of pressure. I just their organisation at the moment is an absolute shitstorm. They're just in a state. They don't know what's going on. Joe Burrow's doing his best Andrew Luck impression. You just don't know what's going on there. I think the Browns with Stefanski, I think the whole thing around the QB and same agent, I think there is an awful lot more to that. I think they are under pressure. I think they will make a change and they'll get a head coach that will want Shedeur Sanders as their QB and try and build around him. I think Mike Tomlin goes. I think the timing is right for him. Look, they won a Super Bowl in 2008. They're being playoff teams, but I still haven't had the losing season. I just think it's stagnated, and they're at a point now where they will probably make a change. The reason why I say 1 out of 4 or 0 out of 4 is I have a horrible feeling that when it all comes down to it and all the dust is settled, it is going to fall on the coordinator's heads again. It is going to fall on Zach Orr. It is going to fall on Todd Monken. It's going to fall on the assistant coordinators, unless one of them is going to get a promotion up like Zach Orr did when Mike McDonald left. And I've got a horrible, horrible feeling that no matter what happens tomorrow, on Sunday, no matter what happens in the playoffs, if they get there, John Harbaugh will still be the head coach of the Ravens. That is just what it just happens all the it'll fall on the coordinators. That's what I think will happen. That's not what I want to happen. If what I want to happen happens and Harbaugh loses the job, I think you could see an AFC North next year with 4 new head coaches.
I think a lot of reports currently are leaning towards Zach Taylor getting 1 more year, which is hilarious. But
I mean, what is Zach Taylor's contract situation? Because the Bengals are so cheap, they're not going to want to sack him and buy him out of his contract and employ someone new. So yeah, he's probably safe on those grounds.
I think he's safe just because they're a fucking shit show of an organization that don't know what to do. Like that in itself, like he could be the most obvious person for sacking, and they wouldn't do it because they just haven't got a clue.
Fair enough, gents. Fair enough. Game on Sunday night. We're all up and watching, aren't we? Even though we're all back on work on Monday. I will be. Sorry, have you had a baby? You haven't told anyone.
Haven't I not? Oh, let me go again.
No.
You'd think he'd hard work himself, the amount he goes on about it.
He did 30 seconds of work.
That's generous.
Look, guys, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. 2025 was the start of something. 2026 is going to be the continuation of it. To all our listeners, followers across everywhere, thank you very much for your support. Over the last couple of months, thank you very much for listening. If you're new to the show, or you know someone's recommended the show to you, or you've just found it, we popped up on your For You page. On X, we're at Ravens ATP. TikTok, we are at Ravens Across the Pond. Insta is the same handle, at Ravens Across the Pond. And YouTube, at Ravens Across the Pond. Make sure you click the like and subscribe button down below. DT just put a little thumbs up on the screen for you there. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoy the weekend. Hopefully the Ravens don't ruin it for us. But if they do, Monday could be a good day. Black Monday, Harbaugh could be out of a job. So every cloud, silver lining and all that. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. We have been Ravens Across the Pond. This podcast has been brought to you by the Across the Pond Sports Network in conjunction with our sponsors, Stacked, your number one home for NFL bet tracking. Drop the guys a download and a like. Give them a hit up on Instagram. Tell them that we sent you their way. Helps us out, helps the pod out, helps the community out, and stand by for some huge news coming in the next few weeks. We've been Ravens Across the Pond. I've been Thomas. They've been DT, Nathan, and the village idiot, Dickie. We'll see you on the next one, guys.
Until next time.
See you later, gang.
See you later.
Who's the god everyone's mocking? Fa la 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 lay lay. He falls over instead of blocking. Fa la 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 lay lay. How did he make last year's Pro Bowl? Fa la 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 lay lay. Get this fucker off our payroll. Fa la 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 lay lay.